Project Risk Management, Chapter 11, Michelle Hitchcock, PRG 101. Project risk management is necessary to manage risk. All projects come with risk. So these management cycles exist to identify the risk, which defines the scope. They check all their tools and checklists, experience and interviews. Then everything gets prioritized and see which ones are going to impact them the hardest, fastest, or first. Whichever's going to get there first, probably. But then they're all grouped together in categories, and you deal with them accordingly, and you set them in a rating system where you set values to them, so that way you know which ones to go to first. And then you go through your analysis and reportings and responses. And this is where you figure out what you're going to do with everything and how your responses are going to affect the organization in a positive way so that what you're intending to avoid actually happens. And then you actually get all your information together, and then you do your risk responses. And you get everything in there to log all your actions and alternatives, which gives you the option to make sure that things in the future will work better. And it decreases threats and opens up other opportunities or enhances them. And after that, then you go into risk monitoring. This way you know what you're looking at and you know what to look for. The monitoring process may take a little bit because you have to determine a few things and then take corrective actions. And then you start the cycle all over again for the next project. And it goes from there. But then, how you deal with risks. You have contingency plans, fallback plans, contingency reserves or contingency allowances, and management reserves. Contingency plans, it's always nice to have money set aside for what happens, or the just in case purposes. Who knows? Anything can happen. Anything's possible. Fallback plans are pretty much the same thing as contingency plans, but they're more planned than contingency. Contingency is kind of an unknown. Fallbacks are plan Bs. It gets you to have another plan of action before you fall flat on your face. But then you have contingency reserves or allowances, which are planned unknowns. It's always a reserve of the just-in-case fund, more so than the regular contingency plan. The contingency reserves and allowances, it actually allows for this to actually happen. The other ones are, God, I hope not, but they're gonna. And then the management reserves are to make sure that the planned knowns, like management time off, short-staffed, things you need to supply and supplement that aren't readily available. That's what those are for. And it helps to manage the stress and to deal with risk. Then there's planned risk responses with risk avoidance, acceptance, transference, and mitigation. Risk avoidance, that'd be great. If you can avoid all risk, that'd be perfect. But that's not going to happen, but you can avoid it to a point. You get to a point where you can brainstorm it out and see what you can avoid and what you can accept, what you can transfer somewhere else, give it to somebody else to deal with. And mitigation, and try to figure it out. So it's just a point of figuring out the least expensive or the least biggest explosion, I guess you could say. That way projects still move forward. Nobody loses money, at least not as much. And then everything goes forward and you know what to look for next time. And you plan accordingly. So the next plan response will be a lot more well thought out. I think that sounds right. But plan of action. It's always good to have. And there are my references. Thank you, and thank you for the class.